Even children were helping, like telling some poems or making some speeches, and one child was speaking in a few languages here as well. And everyone has some talents, and you also have some talents, and you can just think how you can use those talents to stop this war, to protect people in Ukraine. Just find your strong points, right? And if you can write some Facebook posts, you can do it. If you're a journalist, you can write a nice story. If you're a blogger, with some, like many bloggers were coming here and covering this story, like there was one blogger from Brazil who had 500,000 subscribers and he covered this story. There was another blogger from Italy with 1,500 subscribers. It's also a lot, right? He also covered this story. Everyone has some ways to help. Yeah, your child can draw some drawing or painting and send it over the internet to children in Mariupol or in Ukraine who are suffering. Everyone can find some way to help. So thank you very much for thinking about that. And now, as announced, we are going to the American consulate, just 500 meters away. So, 500 feet away, about 200 meters. So just for 100 meters straight and 100 meters to the right. So if you can, please go with us and join us there. So our voice could be louder. Thank you very much.
Prosimy się dołączyć do naszego protestu pod konсулятом на Столярській, gdzie codziennie protestujemy przed konsulatом американців. Українці, ми зараз зобов'язані, хто є тут знаходиться, на цій площі. Ми від першого дня туди ходимо. Кожен українець, що є, ми всі звертатися до Байдена, щоб поміг, закрив небо над Україною. Слава Україні!
I to samo po polsku. I teraz idziemy do konsulatu amerykańskiego i będziemy tam protestować, żeby
NATO close the sky. 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 close the sky.
NATO close the sky. NATO close the sky. NATO close the sky.
NATO close the sky. NATO close the sky.
NATO close the sky.
Dear American diplomats, here we are again today, and again we came against this wall of silence to say our no to war in Ukraine and to demand the skies over Ukraine to be closed. You can see what's going on in Ukraine now. The city of Mariupol is totally besieged for already many weeks, and the people there are suffering terribly. They have nothing to eat, they have nothing to drink, they have very, very limited medical supplies, or already have run out of medical supplies basically long ago. And yeah, no one knows the exact number of victims there. And you can see victims of massacres are being discovered all the time in the town of Bucha, in the city of Bucha, you can say, because in America, settlements of this size are already called cities, not towns. And also in many other places, in Borodyanka, in Hostomel, everywhere where Russians are entering, the results are same. And this could have been expected, because if you can read history, like from the 18th century, for example, from the 19th century, from the 20th century, and all the time Russian army was behaving in that way. You can read it like many historical examples. I've been quoting even some on the internet. And even the Russian classics like Sholokhov are also mentioning these stories. You are all learning Russian classics just in a very brief overview at the university, if you're reading them at all, right? Like Leo Tolstoy or maybe Gogol or something like that. But you should also have read some more realistic writers like Sholokhov, who has described how Russian Don Cossacks have raped a Polish woman, at that time a Russian citizen, because a part of Poland was part of Russia back then, and they are even raping their own citizens in that book, actually. It was gang rape, and you can see that, and also all of you, your neighbors know how they behaved in Germany, when Germany was occupied, and also not only in Germany, but also in Poland. I once talked to a Polish man, and he told me, like, do you know why I look like a Kalmuk? Kalmuks are an Oriental group in Russia. And he says, because my grandmother was attacked by Soviet soldiers during the World War II. So they've been doing that not only in Germany, but also in Poland, in Romania, in Yugoslavia, and many other countries. This is the way Russian army has been always behaving. And now you can see that they're doing the same thing in Ukraine. And women are being raped, children are being raped, and your powerful NATO bloc just stands here and not approaching the borders of Poland, not to make a provocation, right? Like I mentioned yesterday that Ms. Merkel, your neighbors here, I talked to them as well yesterday, she was saying that she has no regrets about not accepting Ukraine in NATO in 2008. Like, how come she can? What was her reason for not accepting Ukraine? To prevent a war? The war has not been prevented. You can see the war is going on. So she was wrong. But if Ukraine was part of NATO, there would at least be some chance that Russia would not dare attack a NATO country. If it's not 100% surety, at least it would significantly increase the probability of peace. But this lady, Merkel, she didn't have any bravery to admit her mistake. It was an obvious mistake. Her colleague, Herr Steinmeier, he at least admitted, yeah, we were wrong, we didn't listen. But Miss Merkel is still persisting in her mistake, in her wrong decision, and everyone expected her to be more forceful, to condemn those atrocities, to say, yeah, it's my politics, it's brought up this tragedy. It was my politics of closing all those nuclear power plants in Germany and by sending money to Russia, which has brought this tragedy. But no, she's still okay with this. And same thing here also in the United States.
you should also have acted long time ago. Like, you know, I already mentioned many times, Russia has annexed Transnistria, part of Moldova, 30 years ago. 30 years ago. And also, during that time, you should have applied sanctions. The city of Grozny, the capital of Chechnya, of Ichkeria, is it called in Chechen language, was razed completely to the ground, right? It was carpet bombed. And all of that was done by the modern state, by the Third Russian Empire, by the Third Russian Reich, by the Russian Federation. And 10% of all Chechens have died, and 30 more percent are now have been driven out of their homeland and are spread out all over Europe, in France, in Germany as well, you probably know, in other countries, in Poland. And you can see it. Is this not a genocide? The genocide has been committed by Russia when they did this to Chechens. And you continued, calling Putin your friend and looking into his eyes and trying to see there something, and you were condoning all his acts like that. And even after his war in Georgia, this was again, the blame was shifted on Georgians. And after the Crimea, again, no major sanctions were applied, and no weapons were provided to Ukraine. As I mentioned all the time, like, still remember that people were carrying one helmet at a time across the border on foot because you were afraid to send a single truck of helmets. And all those sanctions which are applying like bit by bit and are saying, if, as Mr. Biden has summarized it, he didn't, it's not actually a promise to apply little sanctions for little aggression and big sanctions for bigger aggression.